I had a video planned and then things happened. And now I'm kind of in a place where I'm not sure where I'm going with it. But I just, I needed to get this video out and I don't want to take too much time because, right now it's, the conversation, although it is at this point, it is timeless, it's also kind of current and relevant. And so, you know, um, you see the article in front of you, Sweet Baby Inc. They're they're still at it. They're still trying to convince you that they are not trying to shoehorn in a progressive message into the stories. They want you to believe that they created an awesome story and, you are just a terrible individual because you don't understand. Same thing with Dustborn. It's not that they ruined the industry or not even ruin the industry. I'm sorry. Not that they made a bad game. It's that you just don't understand, right? And so you are a hateful individual because you decided not to like it. And so, of course, because you didn't like it, that means we have to accuse you of, you know, hate speech and harassment and that you're making threats to us because, of course, that has to be the case. They have to be the victims in the matter. And of course, then you have the situation with Minecraft where they're trying to make a movie and it looks like crap. And so, of course, the charge is it's not meant for you, it's meant for your children. And it's not even an acknowledgement of the fact that you're targeting children is even more of a problem than you just trying to make a good movie. So, what changed my thought process? Well, I saw on Twitter that the conversation about Sam and Frodo being gay come back up and that, they were really lovers, they were not friends. And, it just, because I was in the process of, I had a moment from working out and all of that. And so, you know, I'm kind of upset at myself for even looking at Twitter, but it just it just kind of reminded me of just how off these people are. That's kind of the best way that I can say it, you know. And so the thing that has been bothering me for a very long time as I have looked at the landscape of arts and entertainment and, media and things like that is, you know, do they really believe what they believe? And so, yeah, I've come to the conclusion that absolutely yes, they absolutely believe what they believe. They believe that they are making everything better. They actually believe that, like the showrunners of Rings of Power, actually believe that they are making Tolkien's story better. Now, they believe that they're doing a good deed, because they believe that they have that kind of hubris to believe that they are smarter than the average bear kind of thing. The people behind it, like, I'm not giving that kind of credit to Jeff Bezos. I just think it's the megalomaniac kind of thing. I think, like, you've reached the point where you're not caring about the numbers the same way. You're just looking for something else, right? So essentially, it's sort of like, how do you deal with, people that at this point, and I've kind of said this, for a number of years since, Man of Steel came out. Like, how do you deal with people that don't know how to human? Because that's really kind of the problem that we are seeing. The idea that, men can no longer have friendships, that, like men can no longer have friendships, that creating villainous quote unquote heroes, because you can't even call them heroes nowadays, because they're villains. Like, Galadriel is in Rings of Power is not like, she's not a good individual at all. Like, putting the actress's acting skills aside, like, the role itself is just terrible. And that goes for everybody else. It's sort of like, one can hope that it would do Tolkien's work a justice in that it would inspire people that see this atrocity and go, oh my God, this is terrible. Like, hopefully, it would make them go, let me look at Tolkien's actual work, because, I will still maintain the Silmarillion was a hard read, but there were parts of it that just, it just pulled you right into a story. And so, the beauty of it, it's sort of like you would hope that, if there's one good thing that would come out of this atrocity, that maybe it would inspire someone to actually read the works. But I wouldn't think that it would be because of Rings of Power itself. I would think that it would come more from, you know, those that like lore keepers, those that actually have a heart for Tolkien, those that have a respect for his work, those that have a love and desire, kind of sharing the message that the Rings of Power has nothing to do with Tolkien's work, sort of thing. And so, you know, I've kind of been I've kind of been getting at this point where I am, thinking about like how do we get around this thing? Because like these are true believers of their message. So there's not going to be any convincing of them. They're going to take these industries and they are going to just pull them into the ground. They are going to they're going to crumble everything. And they're going to do it without thinking, without stopping, without even caring, because their mindset is on the idea of their intentions, which makes what they're doing exceedingly dangerous because, their intentions in their mind are good. Therefore, who cares about whether or not they, sold a lot of copies of stories? Who cares if they destroyed, you know, if they destroyed somebody else's work? Like, I think the thing that they don't even understand is that if they did their own original works, you know, someone pointed out on Twitter that Twilight is a better work than Rings of Power. And I would agree. And I hate Twilight. Like, I absolutely despise it. But I would say that it's better than Rings of Power because at least Twilight was an original work. Like, it's the same thing with Harry Potter. At least it was an original work. At least it was not like, at least it was these authors that were part of the process of what is their own work. Rings of Power doesn't have that. Like, they want to keep riding the coattails and use the Tolkien estate as an excuse, but they want to use it as a shield, not an excuse. They want to use like the Tolkien estate as a shield, saying, well, they're okay with everything that we're doing, as if somehow the atrocity that is in front of us is supposed to be okay because they waited until the actual gatekeepers died before destroying everything. Hence why I say, like, I have a problem sometimes of figuring out whether things are done in malice or whether it's done, unwittingly. And because at this point, when too many coincidences happen, sometimes you have to go with the simplest thought, right? So in this, absolutely, I would attribute malice to Rings of Power. I would attribute hubris to the showrunners, because like I said, they just believe that they're clever. They think that they are Tolkien themselves. That's why they are so proud of their original lines and they're so proud of their, original characters. And they're so proud of all the work that they did that they can't understand why the Tolkien fans that Amazon didn't buy don't like their work. Like they can't understand it, but let's be real. It has nothing to even really do with the fans of Tolkien because regular people are not watching it either. Because that's really where, that's really like the sign of whether a product is good or not is how many regular people are buying it. And they're not like, and regular people are not coming to Rings of Power. The article was going by that, they lost 50% of the viewing audience from season one to season two. And that's already after the steep drop off that they had of watchers in season one. So that the audience is minuscule at this point for a show that is supposed to be so expensive and is supposed to be a crowning jewel of Amazon Studios. So, I watched I watched season one, episode one. I hated the show, but I read the Silmarillion, so of course I hated the show. I watched it with my mother, who she doesn't even remember Lord of the Rings. She doesn't even remember the Hobbit. Like she read those books so long ago that it might as well not even matter. And we saw the movies, but let's be honest, the movies are 20 years old. So she doesn't really remember anything. And she watched the episode one, and I asked her after it, do you want to go on to episode two? Because if she was going to go on to episode two, I was willing to watch it with her and, do some reviewing of it on this channel. And flat out told me, no, I'm okay. I'm all right. My mother would be the target audience. And so the general audience that is always necessary to make these things successful, they're the ones not buying it. And instead of these studios acknowledging that, they're blaming the people that are vocal about not liking it. And eventually that will become a problem. So, well, I mean, to me, I look at it and I go, thank goodness it'll be a problem, because my my thoughts will always be, if you're not gonna make good things and you're not gonna get the proper sales, if you're not gonna offer what people want, you might as well go out of business. I don't care, right? So I would not be bothered. I won't be bothered when Rings of Power finally ends. The problem that we're having, of course, is, the problem that I have, of course, is I don't want too much harm to come to Tolkien's work. I just really that would be kind of devastating, because because we're already in a period of of young people turning more to phones and TV entertainment, and less to physical books. And so the last thing I really want is people thinking that atrocity is Tolkien. I really don't want that to happen. And so, yeah, I'm surprised that I got through this. I'm surprised that I am surprised that I got through this, but like I said, to kind of, I guess, land the plane, so to speak, I'm convinced now they actually believe it. I'm convinced now they actually believe the message that they're pushing, that because they actually believe the lesson that they're pushing, speaking to them is going to be impossible, because they're never going to see different. And because they're never going to see different, the only avenue open is to continue fighting their arguments, right? To continue talking, to continue, doing what I see Tolkien fans and gaming fans and, tabletop gamers and, people who love entertainment. The only way to combat this is to do what I see them doing currently, which is keep spreading the message, keep pointing out the crap, keep making it clear that eyes are on these industries that are trying to sink their own ships, because that really is the only way to kind of combat it. And, of course, in combating it, that means enduring, all the charges that come with it. Of course, what happens with, what happened with Dustborn, but I mean, let's be honest. We've managed to kill the influence of journalism, especially entertainment journalism, because no one is really listening anymore. And yeah, they'll have their people that may not care and whatnot. But I do believe that the more vocal we are about how things like rings and power are not are just not good. And, the more we talk about how, checklist hires harms properties, and the more we talk about how, flawed storytelling and pushing narratives is a bad form of entertainment. Like the more we do that, like I do think that the more people will begin to see. And maybe the industries themselves will never get the message, but guaranteed there are going to be those smaller creators. There's going to be those indie people. There's going to be those kind of people that are going to, that are going to be listening, and that are going to, there's something is going to spark in them. And, it's going to tell them, maybe I can make something that will appeal to that broader audience that's looking for something, so that's kind of where my head is right now. And, I think because I've kind of come to that conclusion, I've realized that I am going to have to do more content like this, that I can't just go away, and the more voices that are added, and then I mean this sincerely, the more voices that are added, I think the better heard that we are. And so, yeah, I'm going to leave it at that. And so I couldn't tell you when the next upload is going to be, but we will see. And like I said, I'll leave it like that. And I will thank you for listening, because I should always do that. If you made it this far, especially thank you for listening. And like, I hope that what I said made sense, because, once the message I had changed, it just, I had to do it this way. Right. So yeah, I will thank you and see you on the next video. Bye.